Welcome everyone to another episode of the Dad Squad Solution. It is myself, TK, Chad, and Kai bringing it to you once more. We have a wonderful topic that we want to talk about today. We have been talking about different things, which was like the influence of the dad and like breaking cycles, generational patterns. But now we want to define, what is a dad? If we looked outside and we saw and we watched a man do a particular set of things, will we consider that like being a good dad? Like what is it? I'm really interested because I could tell you from my perspective, but I also want to look at the perspective of even the students that I teach as a teacher, right? My perspective of a dad is not just the typical, like, I walk into the house, like, I'm big and bold. Like, that is not what I think only manhood is. Because you have some men that are house dads. So they are at home and their wife or partner, they work. And so you have some dads that they work all the time and they have stay-at-home moms, so there's different facets to what a dad is. But for me, I think the biggest thing is being present in a child's life, or being present in your marriage, or being present in different relationships, or having positive influences on another person, young person, older person, whatever it may be. And unfortunately, I don't see that often. But I do want to like give shout outs to those dads who are really there. They're present in people's life and they're super intentional about everything that they do. Like, for example, my karate coach, or my sensei, he was so present in my life. And I mean, sometimes the man wouldn't say 2 words standing next to me, but the fact that he was there was huge in my life. And so, like, for example, he was also one of our youth leaders. He was our sensei, and then he would also host like events for the kids in the neighborhood to like stay connected and so just keep us out of trouble. I remember one time I was having some difficulties. Like it was me that was wrong. I was being disrespectful to my parents and what's not. And he just showed up. Like my mom probably called him, and he just showed up there. And I was just crying because I was so frustrated with everything. And he just sat down. He said, "And you're ready to talk." And he's given me the opportunity to say what I want to speak, what I'm comfortable and what's not. But nonetheless, his presence isn't missing. And I always said for myself, like, that is something that can redefine someone's life. Is a simple text and say, "Hey, I'm just checking up on you." Like, that always was such a redefining moment in my life. I know a lot of men sometimes, like, there's a lot of men sometimes that try to do this and they don't feel like they're making a positive impact into someone else's life. But in actuality, they don't realize that just has a huge impact.
So I think that leads us to the core thought of today's episode, which is fatherhood is not just a title. It's a daily choice to show up.
Honestly, for me, I love that because it also reminds me of, or it brings me back to what our topic is. Our title for today is, what is a dad? We understand. But for me, what defines a dad, or amongst so many things, we have recorded the first and second episode where we have spoken about being present and all of these things. And we spoke about what are the things that our parents did that stood out to us that we would like to adapt for ourselves, right? And we all gave different point of views. And I love that. But in this episode, I would want to say that for me, what makes a dad is that legacy you leave behind. A legacy that inspires people, that motivates people to become better, to do better, you understand? When you start something, let's say for the community, you understand? You're doing something, you're giving back to the community, you're feeding the homeless people, you're unifying the community that you're in and stuff like that. People want to get involved. People want to run behind you. They want to run with your idea and actually see it to the end. And that's the same in a household as well. Being a father means that you need to be a person that is influential in your household. You need to be a person that can rally your family and keep that unity so that
everybody can follow you as the man of the house, as the leader that you're meant to be, being a person that can actually create something for your people as well in the house. And that's where I came in, like with the legacy, for example, you understand? It should be something that excites your kids. I wanna work for my dad's company when I grow up, stuff like this.
Or if people walking up to them and saying, hey, oh, your dad was an amazing man.
Exactly.
Or he did this.
Let it be enticing, man. Let it be tantalizing other people's mouths. You will leave a sweet taste in other people's mouths regarding yourself, so that like everybody else, like for example, when I'm about to get into a relationship, they're like, what do you look for in a relationship? You understand? And one of my things is I look for somebody who compliments me. And people don't understand. They think like, oh, you're so full of yourself. You just want somebody to say you look good today. And I'm like, no, that's not what I mean. Somebody who represents me well, the way you behave when you're out there should reflect good on me. You understand? It's not going to be a thing of like, oh, Kai did this or whoever did this. It's going to be, Kai's woman did this. Kai's lady did that. You understand? It always reflects back to me. And I feel like the way as a father you also act outside there should reflect well to your household. Yeah, those are my few 2 cents on what a dad should be in a household for me personally.
So how about this? So what about guys who have made mistakes already and feel like their legacy is already tainted? What is the something that they can do that will help them move them along and make them feel like there is purpose, there is a possibility for you to have a great legacy despite all the many mistakes you made when you were young? Like, what are some things that they can do to kind of fix that?
My mistakes do not define my future. You understand? Once you understand that and you know that what you have done in the past does not define you, it does not make you who you are today. Yes, it shapes you. Yes, you learn from it. Now you know how to move on, but you are not your past mistakes. When you understand that and you make peace with that as a person individually, it can give you that peace of mind to move on and just choosing to do better each day. Taking it like day by day and choosing consciously to make a better decision today. And I know what my past mistakes were. I know where I came from. I know my mistakes and stuff like that. But I am going to choose to be better today, because what I did yesterday does not define what's going to happen tomorrow. So if you consciously choosing to make a better decision today, to be better today, to be better for your kids, be better for the people around you, the reputation that you have created, the legacy that you have built, choose to consciously be better from today moving on. Understand? What has happened has happened. There is nothing you're going to do to change that. But what am I going to do today? We change what happens tomorrow.
And that's a really heavy thing, right? Because you have a lot of guys who, when they make a mistake or a series of mistakes or whatever might have happened, they get caught in this cycle of anxiety or potential depression, feeling that they aren't worthy to have a positive legacy,
Right.
or they feel like people won't allow me to move forward because I was this vagabond and I did all this stuff, and people just won't let it go.
Right.
I really want to encourage some people out there that are suffering through this. I know I was one. When I lost my job, I was like, is this the legacy that I'm leaving for my kids? Like, can I move past this? Like, or am I just going to be stuck here for the rest of my life? And you won't. You really won't. It is a conscious decision to say, I'm going to get up from where I am. I'm not going to say lay down on this ground. I'm going to pick myself up, make a decision to move forward today so that I can look back at where I was tomorrow. I want everybody to really understand that you're not stuck in this place.
I think this question on, failure and people who have made some really bad mistakes, it's sometimes not easy. We just have to really understand that it's not an easy thing to deal with, especially those people who felt that it's over. My legacy is over. The starting point, at least from my perspective, is we have to just take ownership. If you realize that this is wrong, you have to make the necessary amends. say the sorries that need to be said to the people that you have hurt or disappointed, and then just promise yourself that you'll do better right from that point on. And yeah, like what Kai just said, your past doesn't define who you are now. It's your intention. So coming back to that core thought of this intentionality and being intentional about, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. This is a choice I'm going to make today. Just make that become your lifestyle.
Yeah.
So being a dad is all about this lifelong lifestyle series of decisions, right? Small little habits that can have tremendous, this ripple effect in the long run. So yeah, I think the first step is just taking ownership.
Say your sorries and then move on, And we have this with our kids as well, you understand? If your kid calls you out on something, you feel like a sense of shame, like, how dare you say that to me? You understand? I am your father.
Yeah.
But you know deep down he's wrong.
Yeah.
And then you still would not own up to that. That's right. I understand. So it was nice when you said that as a father, just own up to your mistakes, apologize, say your sorries where they needed to be said, but then you move on, honestly, so that it makes you a stronger person as well.
Actually, Chad actually knows this story. So one of my failures in this situation, when I was leaving a job, I was really upset with the supervisor at that time. I was super upset with them. And I always felt like, I'm the man. Like, I know I did what I needed to do, and I don't need to say sorry. I did nothing wrong.
And the first one?
That was the first one, yeah.
That's the one that we talk about a lot now.
I sat with that for years thinking like I did the right thing. I was a freedom fighter. Like I was, doing God's work. And I sat down one day, and I don't know, maturity and Jesus just hit me at the same time. And I was like, wow, I actually wasn't right when I said these things about this person. Like all the conviction hit me at one time. And so it took everything within me. I actually went to a friend's wedding, and at the wedding, the supervisor was there. And so I told my wife, I said, that supervisor's gonna be there. I think I need to talk to him. Like, I think I need to say something to him. And she looked at me and she said, are you sure? Are you ready? Because I think it's a good thing, but are you ready to make that step? It was something that I just felt like I absolutely needed to do.
Conviction, right?
And so when I went to him, I saw him and I shook his hand, and I had my son in my hand, and telling him like, hey, I really would like for us to sit down and discuss about everything that has happened. And so he looked at me and he said, yeah, I would actually like that. Pride so badly wants to set in and say, you fool. And then on the flip side of me, like the God is speaking in my ears, like, son, I'm so proud of you. Like, you chose me despite all the things that the world is telling you to do, which is wrong. You actually chose me. You chose forgiveness, because I actually also had to forgive that person too. I had to forgive myself for making wrong decisions. And I actually had to walk away feeling I did the right thing. And I wanted to sit in that for a while. So I went home to my wife and I was like, after I sent the message, I was like, I feel loose. I feel free. I feel like that heaviness is off of me. And if I see that supervisor again, I'll offer him to go to lunch. God released me from that, and I was able to walk in that freedom. Like, that was fantastic for me.
Honestly, I love that, because you reminded me of a fact. Holding on to grudges is like poison to your body. The internal conflict that you had to go through, like, you idiot, how dare you? Why would you do that? You know what's going to happen. You just gave him ammunition to fight you against. This is the thoughts that come to you. All these extra mental health issues, nuns to build out. But then the moment that you decided that I'm going to let go, I'm going to forgive this guy, let's have the talk and just release it.
That's also something that you could apply to in marriage as well, right?
Yeah.
Because think about this, like, your children are watching you. When you first walk into marriage, like, it's super blissful, loving, you want to take on the world, paint the town red. And then all of a sudden, here comes your first argument. And you're like, all right, that wasn't horrible. Like, I just love you, no problem. And then the second, and then the third, and then the fourth. Your spouse makes a mistake. And so now you as a man, you're like, oh, she made a mistake, but it hurt me and it made me upset and it disrespected me and I feel all these feelings are coming up. Exactly. And so now you start feeling discontent, resentment, all this stuff. And if you watch any marriage video, they always say like being discontent or having resentment for your partner is the first killer of all marriages. And so I think about that. I'm like, I don't mind within reason for my children to see me have arguments with my wife because that's just a normal part of life. I don't want them to see us blow up. I want them to see that we disagreed and that's okay to disagree. And so I want them to see me come to a resolution with everything that happens. And so they now learn that, okay, I can have a disagreement with you. It's not all, roses and butterflies. But at the end of the day, we come together and we say, this is worth fixing. How can we solve this? That's where I feel like as a man, we need to learn to forgive our spouses, chuck it up to it's a roommate issue or it's just a mistake. It's not personal against you. And if it is personal, you need to seek help.
I think coming back to that core thought of being intentional, like we talked about setting an example, right? With our spouse, with other people, and kind of just walking the talk. Now, maybe we can discuss a little bit on, how are we showing up for our kids? And what does it mean showing up with intention, being there for kids? Is it just physical presence? Is it just spending a couple minutes a day? Like, what does it look like?
Yeah. My wife and I live by this. We say we're not going to be parents from the couch. You'll see like there's a lot of guys, and I've heard this from a lot of different people. When my husband comes home, he will say hi to us and then he's off. Like he's gone somewhere. Now, I do understand there's something called the Dragon Cave. If nobody's heard about it, you need to read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Amazing book. And what it says is that men, when we come home, we need time to process what we've been through. We need to be able to get away, file everything in our filing cabinets, and then we'll come back. We're almost like we're refreshed. So I will do that with my wife, but I'll have a time limit. Whereas, unfortunately, there are some men that don't have, and honestly, I had to learn what was a reasonable time limit. And so some guys, they will go off and they won't be there for a while. Or even if they do come back, they're on their phones, they're on the computers, they're watching a game and so on and so forth.
Not really there.
They're not really present and their children are asking for their attention. One of the first things that I learned, again, from failing quite often, I learned when I came downstairs from my Dragon Cave, I'll ask my son and my daughter, hey, what game do you want to play today? And they'll say, oh, we want to play, build a house, or they want to play Ninja Warriors, which they love to play Ninja Warriors for some odd reason. I'm very much a person that I want to be there with them, creating memories with them. And although sometimes I am tired from the day, I want my kids to see that I will give my last little bit to them. That's my whole goal, is you get my very last.
Honestly, being intentional and with my presence or what that is like for me, I would agree. Making intentional decisions, I feel like it always takes intentionality at the end of the day, right? But what does that look like? Being there, just showing up, being actually present, like leave your work at work. You understand? If you are the kind of dad who cannot leave your work at work, then have a set time for set things. That is a healthy work-life balance. Schedule the things out, try and say that, listen, with my kids, it's also a full-time job. It's the same as in religion. No man can serve two gods at the same time. You're going to neglect one. So look at it as a full-time job as well. I'm at my full-time job. I'm going to do my best to be productive during the day, finish all my responsibilities. You are there for most part of the day. You leave early at 9 in the morning or at 8 in the morning. You only come back at 5 in the afternoon. Now you only have about 2 hours before your kids have to be in bed. Now you get home, you're tired, you're grumpy, your kids are looking for attention, but then you are all in this headspace. So you go lock yourself up in your room, When you come down, your wife was ready to put the kids to bed. The kids don't see you, but you feel like, no, but I'm home. You understand? Now, yes, you're there, but you're not there. You bring work from home. Your kids are coming. You're like, you can't see I'm busy. Know that these small creatures also, they see that you're busy, but they also have a need that they need. You're not feeding into that need, and they're also young not to comprehend that what he's doing right now
It's important.
is important. You understand? But for them, spending time with them is equally as important. They're playing board games, going on walks even. It's this quality time that you spend that kids remember at the end of the day. You're out there and then you feel like I am present because I'm making money, and I come back home, I buy my kids the most expensive toys. Your youngest is not going to remember the most expensive car that you bought him,
Right.
whatever. But your presence, the kids are going to always remember that, oh man, the one thing I really loved growing up is my dad coming home from work and asking us, what game do you want to play today? Knowing that you truly care, not just about what we're doing, not just about the game, but it goes beyond that. It shows that you truly care about their thoughts, about what they have to say, and you see them, you value them, you validate them. Let them have a voice, let them feel heard, let them feel seen, let them feel appreciated. These are all things that make up a healthy child's life, because they come up and they feel that, and they get into high school where kids are being bullied nowadays, you understand? And then this kid is coming from a house where she's barely heard, she's unappreciated, she feels unworthy. And then she comes into this new environment, she's in high school with all these peers of hers who now bully them because they are shy, they are reserved, they're not outspoken, they are more awkward, they're the weird kind, the odd one out. But that if you as a father build this thing up from home, start a foundation where these kids can be confident in themselves, so that when they go to the world and the world tries to knock them down, it's not about how many times you fall, but how many times you get up.
Actually, I had a conversation with my grandmother this morning, and I remember it is such good timing, where she said, hey, I remember talking to your grandfather and saying, you were such a good grandfather. Right. Like his wife said that to him, like, you were an amazing grandfather. And one of the reasons why she said that was because he had it rough being a dad. He wasn't there always.
Okay.
And he had outside kids and things like that. So it was rough at the very beginning, him understanding what a dad was supposed to be like.
Right.
But, I feel like he said, with round two, my second generation, he still fixed everything with his own children. But when it came to his grandchildren, he was like 110% always there. He never missed anything. Like I remember he used to pick me up from school, and then I had to go to swim practice. I was on a swim team, and then he would wait there until I was done, and then drop me back home. And that was years he did that. And so he was always that encouraging voice for me, building that foundation that I had lacked. He built that foundation step by step. And so it just goes back to say, like, even though you've made mistakes before, like, there's always an opportunity that God gives you the opportunity to do better the next day.
I love how you can look at it from both sides as well. Even though you have made mistakes in the past, you can learn from that and be better. Or it also shows us that it's not about the extra things. It's just your presence. Although your grandfather did all those extra things, like he stayed to the end, he always encouraged me. It's those things that don't even require you to spend. Yeah, if you understand. And we think, as the man of the house, as the provider, I need to work my behind off, go make money, feed my family, be the breadwinner, bring the food on the table, and my kids are never gonna lack, but they're lacking a presence. Let's bring ourselves back to the beginning. Like, let's recenter ourselves and say that, listen, it's the basic things in life that truly makes the happiest moments as well.
We all, I think, know of a family where the dad is working in, say, a different country.
Yeah.
And so it's not like they don't want to be there.
Just cannot.
They just cannot. Like, the opportunity to take care of their family is outside of the place where they live.
Right.
And so you have people living all over the place. And I can't even fathom, honestly, I cannot fathom what they feel like wanting to have that presence. You know, they may be really good at video calls. They may really be good at texting their kids, things like that, but they're not there, right, physically. So I guess what is some advice or what is some encouragement that we can give to those people that are living long distance and still trying to be a good dad,
Right.
to their family and to their children?
A few advices I'll give to people like that is figure your life out first before you actually delve into gay kids. You understand? Because if you have not figured yourself out and now you're bringing all these kids along, you're literally just stringing them along with you trying to figure yourself out. There is no shame in waiting. See what environment works best for us as a married couple, just the two of us. If it's here on our, like, where we are based together, let's stay here. If it's elsewhere, whatever part of the world that might be. If we get to the point of like we're married, compromise has to come in as well, but then opportunities do come in as well. So that's why Ted was like, it's a difficult work because I related, right? Because as much as you try to lay a foundation, you try to build yourself, you try and do all these things, establish yourself, make sacrifices, opportunities are always going to come that are always going to be better. So it's going to be a sacrifice or a decision that you're going to have to make. I am all for you finding an opportunity and going out there. I'm not going out there to stay there. Either I'm going to make ways so my family can join me, or I'm going there to make money and come back. Your kids should not get used to you being out of the country because that's where you're based. Either you make a way, you take your family with you, or you make that sacrifice and you say, you know what? I want to work here for a set year or years and then come back, take care of my family.
Chad and I even know some people that have been away from their spouse for decades, and they periodically go and see their spouse and things like that, but they've been separated just to make sure that they, can survive and fend for their family financially and what's not. I agree with you that I wish that everybody had the opportunity to be together and that every child has their parent, every son has their father, every daughter has their mother, things like that. I wish that everybody had everybody.
Right.
But unfortunately, that's just not how the world is sometimes. And sometimes you set out and plan, like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to come back in a year or two after I've saved up. And then something happens. Death in the family or some other financial issues that may take place. So that just doesn't happen. I really put my heart up there for every single person that has to go through that, every dad that has to make that type of sacrifice. And I know some of them may not feel seen or appreciated, but that's a ginormous sacrifice for your family.
Yeah, again, it all comes down to just having that mindset, right? That I'm going to be there for my family. I'm going to be there for my son or my daughter.
Right.
I once heard this quote. I'm not sure if I'm getting it right completely, but it says that as a dad, it's kind of your job or your responsibility to challenge your son, right? To make him to grow, to become a man as well. And then for your daughter is to model, to be a model for her, so that she knows what kind of man to look for in the future. Someone who has that closeness, who is setting an example, who is walking the talk.
Yeah.
It's not just saying things, but proving it every step of the way. Right. So yes, it's not easy being a dad sometimes. We have this weight that we have to carry. But at the same time, it's such a great privilege that we have, to set the tone, to set the foundation, like for not just maybe the next generation, but the generation after that. Right. It creates this pattern. We talked about, breaking cycles and generational patterns and curses last time. And how about, setting good cycles, right? Setting that positive foundation. So that's why we have to be intentional. That's why I have to have that mindset, making that daily choice to be there, not just physically, but being there, connecting our hearts with the hearts and the minds of our kids, right?
We're in a war because that right there is such such a powerful statement. But when our kids turn on the TV, when they watch a movie,
Right.
when they look at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, or whatever it may be, there may be things that say different than what we all just said just now.
And that is your job as a father.
You're the gatekeeper.
We don't have an inside eye view of what my kids are doing. What are they searching up on the internet? What are they watching? What are they feeding themselves, right, from the outside? But if you're a present father, I bet you're going to be like always aware. You understand? Put restrictions. Tell your kids that, listen, yes, you can be strict with your kids, you understand? But it depends. Don't be strict in just wanting to punish them. Because your kid need to understand that I am putting these restrictions and these barriers because I love you and protecting you from the outside world. These are my morals. These are our values and morals as a family. And this is why I'm doing it. I'm not just doing it to be spiteful. Right. I'm not doing it just because I don't want to be, the best dad in the world, but I want to be the mean guy. This is the bad cop, good cop, the mom and dads. God tells us, do this, and do this, but don't do this, and don't do this. It's not because he wants to dictate our lives. It's not because he wants to just tell us how to live our life, but because he wants to protect us. Whereas that he is creating us, you understand? It's guidance. And it's the same as you as a father, right? You have walked this walk. You have seen the things of the world. You have seen how the internet is manipulated lately, you understand? I've been seeing videos recently of how AI takes a picture and turns it into a video of anything. So the moment you start putting those barriers, knowing that, listen, this is not something I'm going to tolerate, and it's because I have my kids at the best interest of my kids, then you're going to be a more present dad. You're going to be a dad who can walk with your kids and your kids look up to you. They respect you, not because they felt like this guy just dictated us. Like, he died, he set us true, you understand? Because present, he answered every question we had. Not once did we go with a question that was unanswered. Not once did we ever have to doubt our father. Not once did we ever have to question. Understand? Because he was always present. That is the beauty of it all.
There was a student's view that I wanted to share.
Okay.
And this was actually really scary for me.
Right.
And so one of the things that the students was telling me, I asked him, I said, guys, we talk about I taught AP psychology. And so we're talking about gender roles and what is expected from different cultures and with being a father and mother and so on and so forth. And so one of my kids, I dare not say where he comes from, but one of my kids says culturally, he thought that being a dad was have as many kids as you can and drop as many dollars on them as possible.
Oh.
Some people have a bunch of kids, some men have a bunch of kids. They're not necessarily always there, but the kids are always taken care of. I want to be that type of dad where I can go and have my fun and I make sure I look back behind me and my kids have all the money that they need. I said, is one of the main things I want you to know. Your kids, in my regard, in my opinion, should never be behind you. I said, in actuality, they should be walking alongside you. You should have them hand in hand, pave the way step by step, saying, I'm going to lead you forward, but you're here with me. Whatever you and your partner, whenever you get to that age, decide how many kids you want to have that is appropriate for you. But the minute you walk out of that child's life, know that you're leaving a void that no money, no amount of materials could ever fill. Never. That will be a void in them. I said, so if you take that step to make that conscious decision that you're going to leave that child's life, know that you left that void. And so he was like, I never even thought about that. I didn't think that my presence was actually necessary for them. I said, yeah, that's a big thing. That's a big, huge foundational, chunk of the foundation that's gone.
Right.
And so I said, you want to do that. I think that will conclude our episode today. Guys, we have had such a great conversation. And as Kai said earlier, make sure that you engage in the conversation. Let us know at any point in time, did this prick you? Do you have questions? Do you have another perspective maybe that really can help us and someone else that may be reading or listening on their daily walk of being a present father that's making these decisions every day? For us out, try your best to Put it in the comments. Comments.
I want a comic soon. That's God's solution comics.
There we go. All right, guys. Thank you so much for everything. We will see you soon. Take care.